Good morning and welcome back. Michelle Carter, who encouraged her boyfriend to commit suicide via text message, now wants the Supreme Court to throw out her conviction. Her lawyers calling her actions free speech. So, does she have a case? Attorney and legal affairs reporter Alex Foyer and criminal defense attorney Robert Bianchi join me now. Thank you both for being here. Certainly appreciate it. Alex, you say you think that she actually has a case. Why?
Yeah, it's interesting. Her lawyers are making this First Amendment argument, and the Supreme Court has been partial to taking First Amendment cases and protecting the right of free speech. It'll be interesting whether or not she can convince 4 of the justices. That's all they need is 4 that agree to take it. What's different in this case than other courts across the country that have grappled with similar issues is that she wasn't present at the time of death. She didn't purchase the means by which the boy killed himself. Whereas you have cases in Utah where that did happen. Minnesota, for example, there was a conviction where the guy was actually helping plan the suicide. And in this case, she sent text messages. I think she suggested bleach. She suggested hanging. Those were 2 means that he did not choose to use. So I think that there's some differences between the way this case was handled in Massachusetts versus other states across the country.
So, Bob, before I get to you, because we were just talking about this in the commercial break, I want to elaborate on that Minnesota case that you were just mentioning, Alex, and that was October of 2014. The Minnesota Supreme Court reversed convictions. This was for a nurse who encouraged suicides. Now, it found that the law banning someone from encouraging or advising suicide unconstitutional because of free speech. However, the interesting part is in that case, the justices upheld part of the law that makes it a crime to assist in someone's suicide. So, Bob, based off that, and that's just one example, how do you think that could potentially impact a decision like this? Would it?
Yeah, I don't think it does, Jillian. It's a great issue to go to the Supreme Court. There's no question about it. But the issue that we have here is that while he was in the commission of the suicide itself, and she had been coaxing him to do it, she had been showing him how to do it, she'd been telling him, don't go for treatment, don't go to your parents. While he was actually killing himself, he got out of the vehicle, and the judge hung his decision on the fact that she said, get back in there and finish the job. So literally during the course of the suicide, she assisted him. That was the judge's argument. So it's not really just free speech. It's an issue of the fact that she actually aided and abetted in the suicide during the course of the suicide itself.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this quote from Michelle Carter's petition to the Supreme Court, and it reads, quote, before the case, no state had interpreted its common law or enacted an assisted suicide statute to criminalize such pure speech, and no other defendant had been convicted. Where the defendant neither provided the actual means of death nor physically participated in that suicide. Alex, how do you see this playing out?
It'll be interesting. I think some of the other quotes, that if you look at the petition, you can tell what justices they're really trying to sway to want to take the case. There's a couple different cases quoted from Justice Gorsuch, for example. He has been known to side with the liberal wing of the court in invalidating criminal sentences based off of vague laws. And that's one of the arguments here, is that this girl was convicted under common law manslaughter. They argue that that relates to conduct, and it's never before dealt with reckless speech, reckless language. It's always addressed reckless conduct. And where the law is absent, how does someone know whether or not they're breaking it? And so it'll be interesting whether or not they can win those 4 votes to even get into the country's highest court to make this case.
Bob, final word to you.
No, I agree with that. And I'll tell you, having led a prosecutorial agency, I look at it like if this case came before me, I would not have prosecuted this case for the very reasons that are being brought out here. Speech, when you get into that and criminalizing it, becomes very, very complex. And in the end, you're responsible for your own actions. So that's where I would have been when I was prosecutor.
All right. Well, you guys certainly know way more about this than me. So we thank you for joining us and explaining it to us, because it's a lot to take in for a lot of people who haven't followed the case exactly play by play. So we'll be watching it. Alex, Bob, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.